Well, thanks for coming out, you guys, on this freezing night. Okay, so the on the screen here, you can see that's the cover of the book that I'm holding, that I'll be reading from this evening. And the book, and I want to thank Jim O'Loughlin, who's in the back there, selling books, all from his press. He's a very patient editor. He's put up with a lot from me over the years. Yeah. Though there was a poem in this book that he said, don't ever give me anything like that again. All right. Well, this book is called The Coolest Month, and that's a kind of a parody of T.S. Eliot's The Cruelest Month, from his big poem, The Wasteland. And the quote is, April is the cruelest month. And I've always, that never sat well with me because I like April. And so April happens to be National Poetry Month in the US. And there is, there is, I guess, a program to write a poem a day, or several programs to write a poem a day. And two of those are Robert Lee Brewer's a blog that used to be called Poetic Asides, and now it has it's a blog sponsored by Writer's Digest, and now it has the really great name, How to Write Better Poems. And then the other one that I pay attention to is NaPoWriMo, which is National Poetry Writing Month, or Writers Month, or Writing Month, I guess. And both of those resources put out a prompt a day during the month of April. And so since 2012, each April, I've been writing a poem a day based on those prompts. And usually I'll take those two prompts and try to merge them. So I'll start you off with the notes, which are in the back. No, this isn't even going to work. I'm trying to, yeah, it's not going to go. And these are the notes in the back that tell what the prompts were for the, I should say that The Coolest Month is made up of 30 poems, one for each day in April, each date in April. And so the poem that's on April 9th, I actually wrote on April 9th, sometime in the last what, nine years now. And so the notes here show, so the first poem is April 1st, 2013. And the prompts were, I'll read the note. This Abecedarian, which is a poem, an ABC poem. This Abecedarian came from two prompts: an arrival poem, Brewer, that's Poetic Asides, and writing a poem that has the same first line as another poem, and that's Maureen Thorson's NaPoWriMo. So I'll read that's the poem. April is the cruelest month, or hoping 30 new poems will arrive. That's always the scary part of doing this poem a day thing, is like, what if they stop coming? It could happen. All right. So these are one word. So each letter of the alphabet, there's one word there. I cheat a little bit by having one be hyphenated. April's blood-curdling, damnable expectation for gorgeous Homeric iambics just kills limp-noodled me. No old pantoons, casitas, rondeaus, senryu, terzonels, verse. Well, Xbox, Yu-Gi-Oh, Zoloft. All right. I'll show you one that's kind of interesting. This is April 9th, poem called Guitar Dreams. And this is April 9th, 2015. So this concrete poem was based on Thorson's suggestion of a visual poem and Brewer's prompt for a work poem. The poem was originally called The Grass is Greener, but eventually was published as Guitar Dreams. So a work poem and a visual poem. Guitar Dreams. Work, 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 to me is A sharp, D flat, C minor, E ninth, G6, or F sharp major 7. Oh, I wish I could be some other thing. Would, yes, but large and important. Maybe a windmill or a skyscraper or a ship. Sigh. B minor 7. Yawn. I love light poetry. You know, some poets are just too damn serious, you know? Like Eliot himself. What was up with that? Anyway, somebody give me a date and I'll read the poem for that day.
April 15th.
15th, all right. And I'll give you the prompt first. I'll read the poem first this time. Okay, and this poem is a haiku sonnet. The haiku is a form that was created by Eileen Tabios about 20 years ago, I think. And then I created a sonnet using her form. So, well, you know, I should read the note because that will make more sense. Okay, April 15th. Thorson suggested write a poem that addresses itself or some aspect of itself. That is, dear poem. I wrote a poem talking to a form I invented, the haiku sonnet. Brewer proposed pick an adjective, make it the title of your poem, and then write your poem. The adjective I chose was blue, hence the various blues in the poem, originally titled Blue, but then retitled to clarify the rhetorical situation. All right. And the title is Prompt, speak to your poem. Dear haiku sonnet, since your birth, you've covered midnight, morning glory blooms, super typhoons, 2 oceans, aquamarine and teal waters, acetylene blaze, lighting shattering sky, sail cerulean air, sweet child, soar. I stole that acetylene from, I've forgotten which poet I stole it from. Anyway, I stole it. Hart Crane, it was Hart Crane, the bridge. The line was something like acetylene rip tooth of sky. His line's way better than mine. All right. Somebody give me another date.
Yeah, I think I should maybe do the one that gave me so much trouble.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so April 23rd.
April 23rd. Okay. This is a poem that's an imitation of Elizabeth Bishop's 12 o'clock news. And it's a prose poem. There are paragraphs, and then next to the paragraph, there's a kind of secret little message, you know, that explains what's going on in the paragraph. Let's see what the note says back in the back. April 23rd, 3 prompts. Thorson, ekphrastic poem. Brewer, a morning poem. Boltwood, noisy poem. This poem is an imitation of Elizabeth Bishop's 12 o'clock news, which describes a fanciful landscape that is a fantastical rendition of a desk and objects on it, named off to the side of the main text. All right. And this, there's a description sort of a guitar, and it's this is the guitar. This is the first electric guitar I had. I was probably 12, and I still have it. And so the poem I put this on the cover because it makes sense with, with the poem. So then the poem, which is an ekphrastic poem, meaning that it's written from a visual image, people would have this to look at, right, if they wanted to. So most people will do like, here's an ekphrastic poem about the Venus de Milo, but instead I write a poem about something that a piece of art I did. So anyway, all right. Head to the Sky, after Elizabeth Bishop. The sun, a ruddy egg, poised on the pale, wavery horizon, rose like a shimmery balloon into a bright robin's egg, cumulus clustered sky. Trees whispered their breezy susurrus into the thin violet haze of early morning. Red burst finish. On the spaceport's wide white concrete, the vast ship stood warming, its mirror-like engine housing thrumming and steaming with liquid oxygen, a single chrome fin arced upward like a pointing arm. Whammy bar. On the side of the spaceship, its massive magenta hull plated with cardinal and amber ceramic armor, the shiny bubbles of the bridge and engine room lit up like angular bars of silver soap, chrome lozenges flashing morning sunlight back to the heavens, silver foil pickups. The sleek, thin, parallel armatures of the faster-than-light drive streamed from the black base of the ship's tail, laddering up to its stiletto nose, high in azure air, pointing like a slim spike, a bright spear, set to needle into the bleak vacuum of interstellar space. Slinky strings. With the blaring clamor of 1,000 thunderstorms, a million Jimi Hendrix feedback howls, his Woodstock star-spangled banner magnified a billionfold, the gigantic space ark silhouette, a handmade titan larger than a city, rose like a majestic frigate into the air, poised like a resplendent phoenix on its column of fire, this first vessel of humankind, leaving behind blue earth, this sliver of Homo sapiens flinging itself outward into the obsidian brightness of the universe. And the note next to that is rock and roll. Well, does that, you get bad memories from hearing that?
I don't remember why I had such a hard time laying it out. I remember I put back again and again. But I look at it on the page, I'm like, well, that's not that difficult.
Well, you spent days on it, if I remember.
Oh, I know.
And then he would complain to me, he'd show it to me, I'm like, it's not right. How about another date? The 3rd, okay. Oh, okay. April 3rd. Let's see what the note was. Where is it? One prompt this time, but a double one. Brewer's 2 for Tuesday prompt. An apology poem and an unapologetic poem. So it's a sorry, not sorry poem. All right. Signed poetry editor, it's called. And then you'll remember Sherry said that I used to be the editor of the North American Review and then later the science fiction poetry magazine Starline. So I know whereof I speak here. Signed poetry editor. Dear poet, I know our stock rejection says, we're sorry to have to return your submission, but we are limited by space in the review and must often turn away strong work. We wish you all the best in placing your writing elsewhere. But actually, I'm not sorry. Your poem sucked. There was just one flower species too many in the second stanza. Who do you think we are, the New Yorker? I mean, really. Also, you might want to consider never illustrating your poems with Hello Kitty skulls, though the little band-aids are cute. And what's with those words thesaurus and pyewacket in lines 9 and 11, rhymed with thesaurus and can't hack it? Let me tell you who can't hack. Whoa. I just remembered that at the Doomsday Quarterly Review, we don't critique. But how can I not? After all, I'm here to serve. Please grace DQR with more poems. We won't put them up on the bulletin board and throw darts at them. Really, I promise. Cross my heart and hope to die. Sincerely. P.S. Remember to sign your check. Peace out. You know, it's true. Those of you who send out poems, have you ever gotten a rejection and also a plea for money in the same envelope? That happens. Well, I don't know. It doesn't happen now because everything's done electronically now, right? So, yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I just went to my 50th high school reunion, and so that was about, what, 3 weeks ago, and a couple of days ago, I got that envelope asking for money. The lowest, there's always a ladder, right? And the lowest rung on the ladder was 999. Like, no, I'm not sending 999. All right. How about another date?
The last day.
Hmm?
The last day of the month.
Oh, the end of the month?
Yeah.
Let me save that one for last. I'll come back to you. Okay. Someone else.
Well, how about the curly cues on the 25th?
25th. Oh, okay. Clary Hughes. Okay, so Clary Hughes is a humorous poem that starts off, the first line is the name of a person, and the second line rhymes with that person's name. And then you have two more lines that rhyme. And, it's always a send up of the person. So this is called Claire Hughes for a famous literary sailor. Herman Melville was into whale kill. So he wrote let me start over. Herman Melville was into whale kill. So he wrote the famous Moby Dick, although harpooning was not his shtick. Herman Melville couldn't spell well. The real guy's name was Israel, but Herman misspelled it as Ishmael. Herman Melville didn't sell well. Thousands of Moby Dick copies left over in his attic, his basement, and his mom's, moreover. I guess that's not so funny. It's really true that he, I think he had it privately printed. Is that right, Jim?
I'm not sure.
But he had thousands of copies and he had them stashed all over because he couldn't get rid of them. It made him really mad too. So then he wrote a book called Pierre, which is a mess of a book. He tried to give the public, he thought the public wanted romance, right? So he tried to write a romance novel with a beautiful blonde, a woman in a blue dress, and then a guy that was, kind of Prince Charming like, and that went on for about 100 pages, and then he couldn't stand it, and then a woman came in. It became a triangle, and the woman was, dark and kind of witchy, and turned out that she was Pierre's the Prince Charming guy. Turned out that they were long lost brother and sister, and so there's now incest going on in the book, and yeah, he couldn't maintain the romance. It's kind of fun to read in a way, except you feel bad for Herman because he was trying so hard to write a Harlequin romance before its time. Okay, there's three more. Herman Melville fished for bluegill. He said it was almost as fun as whale if you don't consider matters of scale. Herman Melville visited Nashville, where Moby Dick didn't get him too far because he couldn't sing or play guitar. Herman Melville scared a Paris demoiselle. She said, "Mon chéri, with you, it's wrong. Your Moby Dick is just too long." Who's read Moby Dick? Here, two people, me too. The old professors, yeah. I waited as long as I could though. I didn't read it till I was in grad school. And then I thought, why did I wait so long to read this book? Okay, how about another date, somebody? Hmm? 10. All right, 10. April 10th. This is a political poem. Let's see. April 10th, today's sonnet melts two prompts. One, by Thorson, write a poem that is a portrait of someone important to you. And by Brewer, write a travel poem. My Mother's Fear. So what year was that? 2017. So that's a year after someone got elected. He who shall not be named. Donnie. What? Oh, the 10th. Okay. My Mother's Fear. My mother was an alien, a legal alien. That is, she had a green card, while my father and I were the family's US citizens. As a kid, I wanted to visit Mexico, but my mother was afraid. Now, she was a brave woman, a doctor, the only female in her med school class, during a time when only men could do such things. But for her, no Mexico. She was scared they would stop her at the border on the way back and she would get stranded alone. I thought that was foolish and silly, I remember. How could that happen? America was the land of the free. Well, Mama, today you'd be right. America great again. You were always right. My mother's up there saying, I told you. All right. Another date? 13. Oh, 13. Okay. April 13th, 2014. Brewer, write an animal poem. Thorson, write a poem that contains at least one kenning. And kennings are these things that they used to put into old Nordic sagas, Viking sagas, where they take two nouns and put them together. Okay, you'll recognize them when they happen. This is called Sestina Dragon. The Sestina is a form where six words cycle through the ends of the stanzas. And there are 6 stanzas plus a half a stanza. And usually the words tumble, right? But what I did with this poem is I made all 6 words the same word, dragon. Sestina, dragon. What could be more optimal for a dragon, Sestina, than using the word dragon as an end word? All 6 end words would be dragon, in fact. That way there wouldn't be any drag in having to sort out when you'd need dragon again, because every time you'd put in dragons. Yep, dragon, then dragon, then dragon again. Thinking of Beowulf and Grendel and their dragon, maybe pull in a kenning or two. For example, a dragon kenning might be fireworm, but that's a familiar dragon image already from ancient days. A new kenning for dragon could be reptile flamethrower, though such a dragonage just might be too modern, violate the traditional dragon mystique. You could allude to the constellation Draco by kenning multi-double eye snake, because Mu Draconis is a binary star in that system, along with Nu Draconis and Omicron Draconis, and several others. Some Draco stars, in fact, are actually triplets. Because of the Draconids meteor shower every October, Stone Rain Dragon could be another kenning. Is it too draconian, do you think, to insist on repeating dragon? Are you, dear reader, getting tired of hearing dragon so often? Would it stretch credulity to hear dragon right now? For what it's worth, for me, not yet a drag, and we're still having fun, aren't we? We're not dragging our feet yet, thinking, oh, geez, here comes dragon again. In reference to military history, dragoon could give us a little break from the word dragon. Another variation might be the name Count Dracula, taken on by Vlad the Impaler when he became a dragon, or more precisely was invested in the Order of the Dragon. The kenning then might be blood gulper son of a dragon, the literal technical meaning of the word Dracula, not the blood part, but the bit about sons and dragons. Dragon Sestina, about done. Should we avoid dragging on by saying dragon, dragon, dragon now? Or does dragon need Sestina with respect? Nah, dragon, dragon, dragon. All right. How are we doing for time, Sherry? You need me to stop soon?
No,
Okay,
another
we've been going,
10 or 15. Go 10 or 15.
okay. I went to a reading one time. It was here. Not right here, at what was the name of that little cafe, the bookstore on 23rd Street?
Oh, hi.
Yeah. And there was this guy who was giving a reading, and I guess he was a professor. While he was reading, he kept saying, "Okay, class, we're on page," and he would he would tell us what page he was in the book. It was so odd. All right. I forgot what date we said.
We did.
We didn't? Oh, okay. Let's,
About
19, all right. Oh, April 19th. Okay, what's the note? April 19th, 2016. Thorson, write a how-to poem, and Brewer, Two for Tuesday, cool poem or an uncool poem, merged all three. Jim, there's a typo in this poem.
Oh, no.
All right. Oh, well, we can chase down each copy and a little whiteout will fix it. Okay. So a little background for this poem. This is a poem set in San Francisco and in the 60s when I was a teenager. At that time in America, there were really only two colors, black and white. And if you were Hispanic or, if you were Filipino like me, there was just no role model, no celebrities out there that were like you. And so I remember in the late 60s that all of us Asian kids would go through phases, where we would be black, we try out being black, or we try out being white, all right. So this is called How to Be Cool in 1967 San Francisco, if you're a Filipino-American teenager. You got to know how to pimp. Walk like, no, it's not a typo, Jim, it's okay.
Oh, good.
You got to know how to pimp. Walk like in the hood. Don't fuck with me now, I'll lay your ass out. Dashikis and iron jeans, black Cuban heeled boots, or else pants by Ben Davis, blue derby jackets, desert boots, button down pinstripe pale shirts. You cool enough now, little brown wannabe white? How do you dodge the peril between and still be, yeah, cool? I thought there was a typo because there's a phrase in Black culture, to pimp walk, at least when I was a kid. And there's a comma in the middle, but I realize now when I was reading it out loud that that's actually, let's hope it was a pun, Jim. All right. Why don't I take some questions and then we'll read a couple more and quit. Anyone have something they want to know? Yeah.
Proper question, and you get some of it in this book, but you've obviously done a lot of literary poetry, but then you've also done a fair amount of science fiction based poetry, and I know your new project now is really more what we call fantasy.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering how that turn kind of happened for you. I mean, just kind of going through writing all along and just did more, or was it something where you just like made a shift?
Yeah, I discovered science fiction in 5th grade. I remember it distinctly. The book was Star Rangers by Andre Norton. And we were kind of an odd group of kids. They were like, I don't think the girls were in on this. There were like, we boys, we were in a class of like 25. And so there must have been 10 boys. We were like a book club. We were all reading the Oz books. And we read all of them. and we got to, we ran out of Oz books, strangely enough. And And then somebody said, oh, let's read the borrower books. That was Mary Norton, right? But there were only a couple of those, right? So we got through those really fast. And then I noticed that there was that in our grade school library, there was an author named Andre Norton, who it turns out, I didn't know this at the time, it turned out to be the queen of science fiction writers in the 60s and 70s. And so then I just got hooked, and I just read science fiction and wrote science fiction fiction, right? Not poetry. And I don't quite know how I can't quite answer your question, Jim, because I don't remember exactly how that interest crossed over into poetry. I think I might have discovered sci-fi coup, which is sci-fi haiku, and then started to try some of those. And then after I'd written and published a few science fiction poems, I thought I was like, the only guy out there doing it. I discovered an association, the Science Fiction Poetry Association. Now it's called the Science Fiction and Fantasy Poetry Association. And so I got involved with those folks and eventually became the editor of their journal for a couple of years, for 3 years. And so that changed everything, and I'm actually working on a book now that's called Dragons and Ray Guns, which is all fantasy and science fiction. All right.
Do you have any of those in this book?
Yeah. I think, sort of. Well, the Head to the Sky, the spaceship one, that would be a science fiction poem.
So Ian Banks one,
Hmm?
the elegy for Ian Banks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, let's read that. What was the date there? April 4th. Okay. Jim put the date in big letters in the corner, so it's really easy. So April 4th was, oh, okay, it's kind of complicated. Ian M. Banks was a science fiction writer, Scottish, if I remember correctly, and he was well known for having very odd names for spaceships in his novels. And so Thorson, NaNoWriMo, suggested a title from one of his spaceship names. And then the Brewer prompt from Poetic Asides was take the phrase, hold that blank, replace the blank with a word or phrase, and make that new phrase the title of your poem. This poem was originally titled Hold That Ship, Screw Loose. And the spaceship name Screw Loose came from Banks's novel, The Player of Games. All right. So at the time I wrote this poem, Banks was dying of cancer, and by the time I got it published, he had passed. So I have an epigraph here for Ian M. Banks, 1954 to 2013, Scottish science fiction writer, known for fanciful known for fanciful spaceship names. And then a little bit of trivia. The Irish corvette Macha, a small warship, was dispatched to France to bring William Butler Yeats' body home to Ireland for reburial in 1948. That idea always intrigued me, that a country would send a ship to pick up the body of one of their poets. That would never happen, around here. Well, because we're landlocked.
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. Exactly. All right. Ian waits at Fourth Ports in Rosyth, where his father had once worked. He sits on a dock, dangling his feet into thick air over dark green water, where once submarines lay for repair, their blunt noses airing in dry dock. The clipper's spaceship Screwloose, from his novel The Player of Games, is on the way to fetch him, to ferry him to Avalon, Inisophalon, Isle of Apples, where King Arthur reposes, braced to save Albion, England, from peril. Ian squints into gray, storm-clouded sky, uncertain from which direction Screwloose would appear, swoop in. A three-masted ship gracefully slips into dock. Ian pays not one whit of attention, still scanning the skies. Ian is surprised when the sailing ship's captain strides up, blue plumed tricorn and tasseled epaulets glistening gold. Mr. Banks, I presume? When will you board, sir? I am master of this vessel to leeward of you. She is screw loose. Jaw slack, Ian doesn't know what to say. He allows himself to be led onto the deck of the clipper ship. Captain McBride gives the order to cast off, weigh anchor. The sun emerges brightly from behind clouds. Standing in the bow, Ian leans into salty spray, the sea scudding and frothing as it breaks on either side of the clipper. Ian feels the cancer somehow fading away, black flakes sloughing off, flurrying away in wind. Ian recalls how he had driven today to the Rosyth docks in a bit of a frenzy. He'd imagined he would be tardy and meet the sprint, yelling out for someone to hold screw loose even as it left. Or worse yet, there'd be no spaceship. Hearing a strange metallic noise, like a submarine klaxon, dive, dive, Ian turns and looks upward at the sails on the closest mast. Someone in a boat alongside the screw loose would have seen Ian smile. As sails harden and shift, drape a translucent metallic canopy over the deck, flare 50s rocket fins. The spaceship screw loose lifts from the water and streaks smoothly up into air, deep space, the heavens. Okay, just a couple more. I still remember you wanted the last one,
Well,
Pierre
how
Dean.
about 6 and 7.
6 and 7, and not third?
I mean, depending who you are, one of the other side started on April 6.
All
For
right,
the current government, it's April 7. So
okay.
I'm curious to see how.
April 6th, Brewer proposed a Things Not As They Appear poem. And Thorson suggested an Obad, which is a poem usually of lovers waking up in the morning. You know, there's that scene, you remember when the first time that Romeo and Juliet hooked up, they were in bed and they were playfully arguing about whether the bird they were hearing was a nightingale or a lark, because a nightingale sings at night, which would mean Romeo could stay, or the lark sings in the morning, which meant Romeo had to go. So that's an Obad. All right, and this is called Obad. Steve grinned, waking up to see Stephanie's cute face, freckled, soft pink lips parted slightly, lace lingerie showing pale throat. Spring morning sun's rays streaming in to light Steph's bobbed hair on ginger fire. Her eyes blue, cobalt. Can't believe you're here, he said. She smiled. Then her tongue, black, forked, shot out. Her teeth yellow and crooked, fanged. He screamed, woke up, Steph turning. I guess that's a horror poem. Okay, then the 7th. What's on the 7th? Brewer's prompt was take the phrase urban blank, replace the blank with a word or phrase and make the new phrase the title of your poem. Thorson suggested a tritina, which is a half a sestina. So just 3 end words instead of the 6. So the words are urban, finish, and lessons. And that'll happen 3 times, and the last line has all 3 in one line. On urban as you want to be, it's called. On late night TV, I hope there are some country fans here because it'll make more sense if that's the case. Urban as you want to be. On late night TV, 3:07 a.m., Keith Urban is selling these signature guitars finished in rich black or Brazilian burst, with lessons for 30 songs in 30 days, 6 payments of less than $50. So you too, whether you're suburban or inner city, can imagine yourself finishing an international tour on a French or Finnish or Filipino stage. Be an idol judge, no less, and with Nicole Kidman as your personal Mrs. Urban. Listen, $300 and you finish life like an ecstatic urban. Any Keith Urban fans out here? Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of nice to me. Well, let me read the last poem, April 30th, and then I don't know if you guys want to talk some more. We can do that. So the note is Thorson's prompt on April 30th, 2015 was write a poem backwards. Start with the last line and work your way up the page to the beginning. I actually wrote this poem backwards and forwards simultaneously. I started at both ends of the alphabet, so it's another episode, and made sure it made sense going in both directions. We'll see what that means in a minute. Brewer's prompt was take the phrase bury the blank, replace the blank with a word or phrase, and make the new phrase the title of your poem. So the poem was initially titled Bury the Zombies. Oh, and then I say here that this entire collection, this book, is framed or bookended by one word per line abecedarian. So this is called All Zombies Coming and Going, and it's ABC on what's it's 2 columns. I don't know if you can quite see it. 2 columns. One column is A to Z, and the other column is Z to A. Same words, just backwards and forwards. All right. All bury caskets, dooms exhausted, forever green, horrific inside, jujubes kissing lips, miniature, never oblique. Plan quiet reveries, secure trees, under visible wound, exit your zipper. Zipper your exit wound, visible under trees, secure reveries, quiet. Plan oblique, never miniature lips kissing jujubes inside horrific green, forever exhausted. Dooms caskets bury all. Okay, that's it. Anyone have a question or?
So you're back into this April? Can we do it again?
It's not coming yet, is it? No, I will. Yeah, it'll be 2022, so it'll be my 11th April, you know.
Are the prompts always the same?
I'm sorry?
Are the prompts always?
Oh, no,
the
no,
same day or just move them around or-
no, they make up new ones all the time. Sometimes they repeat, like, you know, often on the 14th, there's a prompt for a sonnet, right? On Earth Day, which happens in April, they often have Earth Day kind of poems, you know, write a poem about an animal, write a poem about nature, you know, etc. Yeah.
I mean, since you brought up one of my friends, Herman Melville, Moby, so I got a personal story. Well, when I was in undergrad, this guy, American Peace Corps, threatened us with the peace, with Moby.
Okay.
So I read it in one night. The peace never came. I read it for a whole week. But something good came out of it.
Yeah.
I wrote my monograph on Moby Dick for my BA. And for my master's degree, I wrote on Melville's fiction.
Oh, okay.
So the book in 1990 to 1994 was left in my mother's house during the war on the genocide. So my brother sent it to me. So talk about 2017 in your mom. So I have a poem called A Master's Degree Thesis Blues. At one time, it's a friend because when I leave from home, it's always my office. So it's a friend that I switched on the building, brought the door open, and deported back to run. Because it's uncertain whether it's my child, US citizen, or not.
Hmm.
So that's funny that, you know,
Yeah.
President by the mom. If we talk about Jimi Hendrix and Woodstock,
Yeah. Oh, well,
I mean, as a guitarist, I mean,
well, you know, I love Hendrix. You know, I'm a guitarist, and he's just incredible. Yeah. The thing was, a lot of people say he's a sloppy guitarist, and he could be clean if he wanted to be, but he didn't care about that. He wanted to make new sounds, he wanted to make, something that had never been done before. All right, well, thanks, everybody. Stay warm. Oh, we have books in the corner. Not just my books, you can buy my books, and I will gladly, oh, it's Christmas. Buy them for your friends and your family. And then Jim's Press, Final Thursday Press, some of his other books are there too.
Next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Authors.
Yeah.